So understanding the difference between a feature and actually product is something that can actually make or break your business. And that's something, as I'm working on my app to grow my business, this is something I'm understanding more and more as I go forward. The key difference here is the offer. And generally speaking, when we build a business, we tend to focus first on all the features, all the things that the customer need, but the offer is what's going to bridge the gap between the feature and an actual product. And to be able to build that offer efficiently, this is about the user experience. You need to have a good user experience that combine into a nice offer that you can sell. And so I'm going to walk you a little bit on the things that I have in mind regarding that I think are kind of preventing me from getting to the next level with my app. So I'm going to talk. So I've just explained a little bit the difference between the feature and the product. So the thing that I want you to keep in mind is, okay, the user need a lot of feature, but they also need, in order for you to be competitive with other products out there, other services out there, you need to think about the user experience. And generally speaking, if the user experience is simple, it can be wrapped into a single offer that explains what you do and that will attract people and make them want to buy. Where if you focus only on features, you can have this, you can have this, you can have this. You will have a list of things that people will have by buying your services or product. But this is going to be very difficult for them to relate to the struggle they have on a daily basis. And so the idea is you want to make that bridge for them. You want to explain to them what you are going to offer them, why your product or service is going to change their life. And your app, when they buy in, should not just be a list of features, because if this is that, then you have your offer, which is explaining what they are going to change their life and so on, and then they arrive which at your, for instance, I'll take the example of me with my app, where they have all of these features and it's kind of confusing to how all of this is going to help them achieve the results they want. And so you have the offer. So first of all, you need to stop selling the feature, you sell the offer. What is the transformation, what they are going to get, and then how you are bridging the gap between the features and the offer you've made is actually the user experience. And so we are going to go through a little bit of the 4 types of feature and what you can do with each of them. So let's start. You have on the top left corner, on the bottom left corner, we have what we call low value and low frequency item, which are things that are not bringing that much value and are used not necessarily very frequently. So that's going to be honestly the feature that you might want to either remove or automate entirely. That's something you really want to get as close to invisible for your customer as much as you can. I'm thinking about that based on all of the things, because what I realized in my last video, I talked about what I did this year, and what I realized is actually I spent just a lot of time working on all the possible features that people can have. And so I come up with this model to try to actually figure out, okay, I have all of those features, but how can I transfer that to a good user experience? And when I think about good user experience, it generally, I'm thinking about Apple, where they remove everything, or they add everything that people are not using very often. For the example I have in mind is, for instance, you have the vertical bar. That's something people don't really use often on the keyboard. Yet you can use it. Right? There is a shortcut to use it. But since that there is very few people that are actually using it, and that doesn't provide that much value, you can use it, but you have to look for it. You have to know the shortcut. And so that's a very subset of the entire customer base. And so why would you want to annoy everybody with a single feature that almost no one is using just to make your app exhaustive? No, your app can be exhaustive, but you need to hide the complexity or you need to automate it. And so for the low value, low frequency task or feature, honestly, that just you don't want, you want to automate or remove those as much as possible, get them out of the sight of the customer. Then we have on the other end the one which actually you're going to have to do roughly the same thing. So low value but high frequency. High frec and the high value low frec. So those two are still important, but so high value, those two are still very important, because even if that's something that's very low value but you tend to use it very often, or that's something that is highly valuable that you don't really use very often, you have mainly two things that you can do here. First of all, you can let's copy that. There is always the option of automating, which it's always a good way to go, or hiding here. Because the more of them you have, the more complex the access is going to be. So either you are hiding it so people can find it relatively easy, but that's not in their face. That's something, okay, they need to look for a little bit, but they kind of know where it is when they need it. For instance, it's changing password. That in terms of value, that pretty much, if you forgot your password, you cannot go higher than that in terms of value, because you have lost your account. So you need to know where you need to change your password, or to be. I mean, you don't have lost your account, because if you are connected. Anyway, you get the point. That's the kind of feature I'm talking to. So that's not something you are going to use very often. But if that's in your face and that's polluting the day-to-day use of the app or your service, that's something that is going to be annoying. So you need to be able to clearly state, you need to make it easy for people to find, but kind of hiding it a little bit, or automating it if necessary. Then on the other side, this one is pretty much, I would say, when you have hiding 1D, when you have a high frequency task, so of course that's automating, but that's also simplifying. Because something that you use often, you want it to be very simple, and so you want, and since that's low value, I would say anything that is also in your face. That's something I like to call in your face, which is the opposite of hiding. You want something that is easily accessible very quickly, but you need to make it subtle, simplifying and in your face. So that's roughly that. When for all those low value and high frequency here, high frec. For both of these, you want to simplify as much as possible. You want to, okay, what's the core action they want to make? What's the core purpose here? And how can I make this purpose how can I make people get that done as fast and easily as possible? And so that's maybe a combination of both. You're both automating and simplifying in a way that the workflow feels effortless, and also I forgot, this is about hiding the complexity. Slash because some things that people feel that isn't valuable, if that's very complex, they will get annoyed. So you want it to be fast, efficient, simple to use, and the value, you will be able to increase the perceived value from low to medium, let's say, by the ease of use. Where if you just take this low value task and you put it through without any effort, and people have to use it, but it's painful and they have to do it often, then the low value is even more painful. Where on the other side, if you automate, simplify it, hide the complexity, and make it so easy to actually get those low value tasks done as quickly as possible, then you are providing more value. And this task, this is how you make the experience much better. Then you have the final one, and this one is the three that we've talked here are kind of the feature that you don't necessarily want to talk about. This is kind of the nitty-gritty of how things are getting done, and all the wow effect that they will not expect but will have anyway. That's kind of it. But what you need to make people aware is that the high value, high frequency task, those one are the one that you want people to remember that your app is actually getting that done, because this is where the most value, because if you have high value task that you are doing very often and you have an insane user experience, here this is, you can automate that. The main idea here is in your face. That's something that should just pop in their face. This is, you have that, and this is where the value of my app is, and you want to make it clear and easily accessible. These are the things that will set you apart from everyone else, that will make people understand, okay, I want to be here. All the things that are outside, honestly, that's also what is going to separate you from your competitor. Let's say that this is the 20% of the work that is actually the 20% of the work that get done 80% of the result. But and those are kind of the last the 80% of the work that get about 20% of the result. But in highly competitive market, those are not going to be perceived, the three here, not going to be perceived that much by the end customer, but are going to make a big difference in the subtle user experience that people are going to get. And this is going to, if for instance you have a competitor that is very close to you, that is providing the same high value, high frequency task to the same degree you are, the way you will separate yourself from them and get more adoption compared to them is going to be from those other tags that are actually under the hood. And but so the high frequency task is, and here the idea is, if this is complex, you want to make people aware this is complex, but show how you have automated it, show how you have simplified it, show automation / simplification. You want to show people, yeah, this is what we have done here. We have simplified and automate something that is highly valuable and highly complex. You can just say that this is highly complex. Where here you want to hide the complexity, you want to make it as easy, and or I mean that kind of that will depend on your offer, but that kind of the idea here. So you have all your features, you have all your type of services. Just put it them in this way, and say and just think to yourself, okay, in order to make my app appealing, my service appealing, how can I remove or automate the low value, low frequency task? How can I automate or hide the low value, the high value, low frequency task? Then simplify and hide the complexity, not hide the feature itself, but hide the complexity of the low frequency, the low value, high frequency task, which is going to bring a lot of value to the customer, and then the high value, high frequency tasks are the things that you need that need to be in their face, because that's the thing that they will use the most often and that will bring the most value to their business. So basically, all the part that is on the left is kind of hiding or automating away and as much as possible, and the part, and you are not talking about that when you're trying to sell your the features that you have or the service that you have to your customer. But the part on the right, you can speak about it. Even the low value, high frequency, because if this is low value, but if this is something high frequency, people know it. People know that these tasks are boring, like accounting, for instance, but they have to do it often. And so if you can show that you have simplified this thing and that this is very easy to do, that's a value proposition that you can add in your offer. Anyway, so one last thing that I want to summarize it for this video is going to be kind of the core principles that you need to think when you're trying to go from features based or a ton of different service to a core offer and a core product with a good user experience. So there is, in my mind, simplifying away the just simplifying, because you have all of this. You need to think to yourself, okay, how can I merge things together to make the app feel more simple to use, more and almost entertaining to use? And then you have hiding the complexity. So the more you can automate under the hood, the more you can hide the different moving parts that are not providing that much value, the more impact you are going to have on your customer, the more enjoyable the app is going to be. Which lead me, I just think about that, something that you can think when you going through your process is about the friction. And the mantra I like to use is zero friction to, and you put whatever you want just after. But that's kind of the key here. When you are using your service, when you are using your app, is at any moment any kind of friction that appear. And when you're working on your things, that can be difficult to establish. So a very good way to do that is just watch someone use or experience your services. And every time they have a blocking point, some kind of friction, and as subtle as it is, even if you just think, oh, they are just stupid. Okay, maybe, but that's still your customer. And if they are struggling with something, it just means there is a sticking point. And the sticking point is taking away from the user experience. So keep that in mind, because the better the user experience, the more value you provide. As simple as that. So I did the complexity. What did I? Yeah, that's kind of the two things. Simplify away the complexity and simplifying away the complexity is meaning you're automating as much as possible and just removing feature in terms of what they see, what they experience, and try to do as much as possible under the hood. And then hiding the complexity is the thing that they still need to get done, but don't do very often, or for the high value, low frequency task, you kind of, okay, this is how you access it, but since you are not accessing very often, we are not going to bombard you everywhere with that. Just know that it is there when you need it. Yeah, I guess that's the core point here. So I hope that helped and that give you some insight on how you can turn your experience from a feature to actually a product that you can sell, because this is where I think currently with my app I'm building, I'm struggling. I have spent an entirely here, and now I realize that I didn't spend it working on a product, I spent it working on features. And now I need to transition toward the product, and so I need to focus on the user experience. And so I need to rework all my apps, the experience of my app, because the feature already exists. Now it's just about, okay, how do I make the use of my app entertaining, enjoyable, so people find a lot of value out of it. That's just what I have in mind. So thanks you for watching, and I'll see you next time.